I'm happy to say that I've got some news that will make some of you very, very happy. Marriage Mondays are back. So I used to come out with a marriage video every Monday, and prior to that, I talked about marriage primarily on this channel with the occasional parenting video, day in the life video, but for the most part, this channel has been mostly about marriage for the last 7-8 years. As much as I love to talk about marriage, I felt like I ran out of stuff to talk about. I feel like I've said everything, and even though my older videos are definitely not the best quality and there's no editing, so they're very long-winded because you're like sitting there with me as I process everything that I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, there's still the stuff that I know to this point in my marriage. So I feel like I've exhausted the topic in my limited experience, but I know the requests are often and consistent, and I have started this wonderful Bible study or book study with some sweet women at my church, and it has been so much fun talking about marriage every Sunday morning that it has rekindled the desire to start making marriage videos again. So they're back. I am sure I will repeat some of the things I have in years past in old videos, and I will revisit those things. So for today's video, I just wanted to touch on a few things that are true for all of us. Marriage is hard, right? When we were newly married, we were so in love and we thought our relationship was just amazing and nothing could ever go wrong. We knew that there were some problems, but we didn't expect them to be bad. I mean, everybody has problems, right? And ours surely won't be that bad. It's like going into parenting. You think, I'm gonna be this kind of parent. I'm never gonna do this to my child. And then you become a parent and you're like, oh yes, I am gonna do that to my child, and yes, I am selfish and that sinful. Same thing with marriage. You expect to be this wonderful wife, and then the reality of life and our sin and our selfishness comes out, and we realize, oh, marriage is hard. It is not a fairy tale. It comes with its trials, it comes with its tribulation, and for some people, way worse than others. I definitely am talking to ladies that are in safe marriages in my videos. I am not giving advice to the abused woman to stay and stick it out and just endure. No, on the contrary, I would advise a woman in an abusive relationship to seek counsel immediately from her elders and separate herself if she's in danger from her husband. There is no sin in being separated for your safety. So I'll just dive right in. I feel like when we're past the realization that a fairy tale is not reality in our marriage, and even if you didn't necessarily think it would be a fairy tale, you still are going to be caught off guard with, oh, it's challenging. That will still catch you off guard. It is so easy for us as wives to immediately start nitpicking all the wrong things that our husbands do, all the flaws, all the things that could be better, all the things he should do or should say, and how he should do and how he should say them versus what he's choosing to do. So basically, we are living in the curse of wanting to control our husbands because we want to say how they should be and we want to fix. And that fixing is really controlling. All of us have our different style of controlling our husbands. Some of us are super manipulative. Some of us are very in-your-face bold. Some of us are argumentative, manipulating in the process. Some of us throw tantrums and little bratty fits. Again, manipulative. Either way, we're all going to be tempted to control our husbands. But we are called to submit and to follow our husbands the way the Lord instructs us to in various passages, including Ephesians 5 and Colossians, 1 Peter. It's really, really hard. It will never be easy. And even if we grow in it and are sanctified through it and are better at it, it will still be hard, and it will still pop up from time to time as really hard because we are sinners and we're in this flesh and we're in this broken, fallen world and we are under the curse. So That's just the reality, girls. So in other words, you can't just lay back, relax, and let things go. You have to be intentional in your marriage. There is no way that you can just lay back and relax and expect things to progress. Things will always degress if you don't do anything. And so if you're not to the point in your marriage where you feel desperate and hopeless that there's no way to fix this, you can avoid getting there by making sure that you are intentional. If you are in the place where you feel hopeless, the Lord can fix it. I promise you, He can. Nothing is too big for God. So many great marriage books, including this one, The Power of a Praying Wife, start with the author's testimony, and many times that testimony includes a broken, almost to the point of divorce, destroyed marriage. And then the Lord taking the woman, teaching her through His word, changing her heart, changing her mind, changing her life and her marriage, turning around. God restoring and healing the marriage. Of course, that is not always the story in every instance, because obviously marriage is two people, and we can't expect that if only one person is willing to work, everything will be restored. Of course not. But we can be faithful to pray that God will move the heart of your husband and teach him and help him to be willing to change and work, so that the marriage can be restored. A lot of these women reach a point in their marriage where they are utterly heartbroken. I have several videos. I think one of them is on the home page of my channel. It says 3 things I did to change my marriage. I share the 3 things that I feel like the Lord showed me I needed to do immediately if I wanted to avoid going down the path that would leave me heartbroken, hopeless. I realized I can't change my husband, and if all I do all the time is think about all the ways he's not living up to my expectations, then I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to make him totally miserable. So the Lord used those things in my life, and I did them, and I did them consistently, and I did them for a long time. And I was not in a hard marriage. I was not in a marriage where I felt lonely or desperate. My husband loved me, but still hard. Why? We're sinners. We are sinners. I had this loving, godly, wonderful husband that provided for me, took care of me. I knew he loved me. He loved the children. He was faithful to me. Sounds like a dream, right? We can make anything miserable if we focus on the negatives. And even the negatives were nothing compared to the positives. He's so wonderful in so many ways, but yet we focus on the negatives. In Feminine Appeal by Carolyn Mahaney, she makes that illustration. Let's just say there's 20% bad, which more than likely that's way more than there is actually bad, and 80% good. Why do we want to focus on the 20% bad? We always do it though. Anyway, it's like illogical, but that's what we do instead of focus on the positive. And so I feel like we can all go down that road so easily, and before you know it, you're bitter, you're resentful, you're nitpicky, you're destroying your husband. You are not living your role as a wife the way the Lord intended you to live it, and you are well on your way down the path of destruction where you will end lonely, desperate, heartbroken, hopeless, and possibly even divorced because of not addressing sin. Unaddressed sin is guaranteed destruction. It just has a long road. But every divorce ends with that little seed that was never addressed, never addressed, never addressed, never addressed, never addressed, and just goes and runs its course, and you end up lost. So why is marriage so hard, even when you're married to a good Christian man? Easy, we already discussed the first one, because we're sinners. That's pretty much the reason, but some other ones. The consistency of commitment. There are no days off. You are there. You are there to stick it out, come hard and difficult times, you are there. Unmet expectations, I think that's like number 2 after we're sinners. Good grief, women. Stop with the expectations. That is the most constant thing I see. Women, we are our own worst enemies when we have all these expectations. Whenever you think this should happen, it's not going to, and then you're going to be disappointed and upset, and everyone suffers for it. unmet expectations can be the root of all sorts of bitterness and resentment. You have got to fight this, recognize it in your heart and nip it out, you guys. Lack of control is another reason why marriage is so hard. We cannot control anyone except ourselves. I talk about this constantly in my videos, constantly. And it is such a pushback for so many people. So many people's question or answer when I say you can only control yourself, their response is, well, what about him? Or he should be. There's the expectation again. As soon as you want to point the finger at them and what they should be, there's already that expectation. You're already saying, I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to do until he does what I expect him to do. And you are preparing a horrible trap for your marriage with that mentality. We can only control ourselves, and that's really hard sometimes too. Something else that makes marriage hard, even when you're married to a godly man, is the vulnerability of intimacy. It's every choice to open up is a choice to give your husband the power to hurt you, whether the injury is intended or not. And then people change. Even if you start on the same page when you get married, you're both growing, learning, changing. So if you marry a man that you are convinced loves Christ, he changes in the way where his love for the Lord starts to diminish some, and his hunger for the word diminishes, and he starts being attracted more to the things of this world, and he becomes hardened. You have no control over that, and you can't foresee that happening. That is scary. That is so scary. And it is why the verse I always go to for every wife is 1 Peter 3:1, to conduct yourselves with godly conduct so that maybe the Lord can use your conduct to soften your husband's heart, whether he's a believer or not. Because if he is a believer and he has grown hard-hearted, and he sees you getting up every day in prayer, in the word, the Lord can use that to soften his heart. If he sees you delighting in the things of God, continuing with joy of the Lord, with the peace of the Lord, that might be something that God uses in that man's heart to soften him and bring him back to the things of God. And of course, the same as if he's not a believer, he may be attracted to the things of God and open the door to hear the gospel and believe and be saved. And so really, it just boils down to that people are not perfect. And we can have so many other examples as to why marriage is hard, even Christian marriage. If you feel like you're already in the place where your marriage is far gone, do not lose hope. You have the Lord, and the Lord is the great physician. He can heal, he can restore, he can make new your marriage. God's way is better than our way, and finding his way and implementing his way can change and transform you and your marriage. We have the word and we have prayer. In the weeks to come, I want to talk more in depth about why women were created, what our role is, how to truly love our husband in a biblical way, the way the Lord commands us to, and how to practically and joyfully and cheerfully live as a godly wife. Please join us on Marriage Mondays to dive deep into these things. You ladies have been such an encouragement to me through the years, and I thank you for all of your support and all of your kindness, and I just love the community that we've built here, and I'm excited to discuss these things more together. God bless you guys. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel and like this video.